Entergy provides much more than power. We support science and engineering at local schools to build a brighter path to better jobs and help prepare the next generation. Because together, we power life. Entergy.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.
I feel good about what we're doing with what we have.
The Czar of Transportation and an Infrastructure Reality Check.
I never carved out a path of public service or, as many people say, a political career. That was never my intention.
Mayor Sharon Weston Broome, her life in politics and goals for the capital city.
What we do now makes a difference for all those who come after.
In our backyard, a one and only world-class visit to life in colonial Louisiana. Hi, everyone. I'm Andre Moreau. Natasha Williams, my partner, is on assignment. Much more on those top stories in a moment on this week's edition of SWI. But first, a look at the many other stories making news across our state.
You know, we have an election coming up, and John Bell is running for re-election. And I think if we look back at the last 4 years, it's been a really blessed 4 years.
Shortly after Governor John Bell Edwards qualified in his bid for a second term, he announced his first official endorsement. Former Governor Kathleen Babineau Blanco endorsed Edwards at a small gathering last month in Lafayette. Blanco continues to live with terminal cancer. The governor said this about her. She championed what is best about our state, its people. I will wear this endorsement as a badge of honor, and I ask the people of Louisiana to join their prayers to mine and Donna's for Governor Blanco and Coach during these difficult times. There hasn't been much heat generated so far in the race for the state's top office, but that could soon change. Edwards, a Democrat, is facing two Republicans in U.S. Representative Ralph Abraham and businessman Eddie Rispone. They also qualified, along with a number of others. When could things begin to pop? When the first of 3 scheduled debates began. LPB and the Council for a Better Louisiana will engage the candidates in debate in Lafayette September 26th. Abraham is the only candidate not yet airing TV commercial spots, but that will change, he says, next week. His campaign announced it was locking in $2 million, so his first spot can hit the airwaves. Because Abraham has far less campaign money, some perceive of him as not being able to compete with Edwards and Rispone. Billy Nungesser got a pair of last-minute challengers for lieutenant governor, both saying no one should go unchallenged in the race. The race for Secretary of State will pit incumbent Kyle Ardoin of Baton Rouge with challenger Gwen Collins Greenup of Clinton and others. Attorney General Jeff Landry has an opponent in that race. Ike Jackson, a Democrat and Plaquemine lawyer, wants a shot at AG. The race for treasurer finds incumbent John Schroeder of Covington against a pair of challengers, including Derek Edwards of New Orleans. The State Health Department has temporarily suspended a feature of its new eligibility system that automatically kicked people off Medicaid rolls if they didn't respond to requests for annual renewal information. The move will keep 75,000 people from losing coverage immediately. The governor announced an $18 million partnership between the CPRA and the Cameron Parish Police Jury. 3 more miles of protection is being added to the shoreline of the Rockefeller Refuge. Thousands come to the refuge each year to explore and enjoy the scenery. Louisiana's shrimp season opened this week with the start times different in different zones. Wildlife and Fisheries says from the Atchafalaya River Ship Channel at Eugene Island and westward, the times will start at 6 a.m. for shrimpers. In the zones east and west of that area, the season will begin at 6 p.m. Depending on which shrimper you speak with, expectations about this season are mixed. No hike for the cost of college tuition is good news for thousands of students about to head to campuses for the first time or for those returning for another semester. In a change from recent years, none of the state's 4 college systems will raise fees this year. Classes start between the 14th and 26th of August. The state's public schools have made progress in key areas, but not enough to break away from a national ranking near the bottom. More students than ever, just over 81%, graduated from high school last year, and the number of students qualifying to attend is up 7,000 students since 2012. The percentage of students earning college credit in high school shot up 167% during that same time period. The wait to buy medical marijuana in Louisiana is finally over. A Marine veteran struggling with PTSD and a woman fighting cancer became some of the first this week to buy medical marijuana. The Pelican State is the first Deep South state to dispense therapeutic cannabis. 9 pharmacies are licensed to supply it. When earlier this summer the governor signed the bill into law that would breathe some life into the state's roads and bridges, some specific projects, DOTD Secretary Shawn Wilson said the signing of House Bill 578 is a win for infrastructure. It means 10 vital projects from the Shreveport-Bossier area all the way down to near Grand Isle will happen. But completion of them is still several years away. I sat down with Wilson to take a look at some of those projects. Shawn Wilson, these projects have been announced. They're big projects, but also not ones that we're going to see happen real quickly.
That's a very good assessment. You may not see the project happen very quickly, but in many cases, we may start the procurement sooner than later, which gives you some certainty, and that's consistent with the bill. The bill that provides these funds to us, which are phenomenal because it's the largest investment that we've made in infrastructure, largest single investment in over a decade, maybe even 2. The best thing about it is those dollars don't come until 2021. So that gives us some lead time to get the projects ready, to make some decisions on how we finance, where we have to finance, and then to make sure that we're ready to go to construction as soon as possible in 2021, which is going to save money and stretch the dollars that we have.
Well, let's talk about some projects, and why not just start with the one in West Baton Rouge Parish, which for those people there is an enormous project.
Right, the LA 415 project. It's a wonderful project. It's something that we attempted to begin very early in this administration. And unfortunately, when the gas tax did not pass, it took a lot of projects that were on the books working off the shelf in a sense until a later date. And these are projects that stayed within our priority program that we continued to focus on because they were selected for the right reasons. LA 415 is going to be a tremendous relief, we think, for folks traveling the LA 1 corridor. And basically, we're building somewhat of a bypass, if you will, around that intersection between LA 1 and I-10 in West Baton Rouge. Folks getting off at 415, which right now leads to a dead end, which is the canal, will actually have a flyover that'll get them across the canal, and it will eventually tie down back into LA1. And you'll be able to go north or south on LA1 depending on what your goals are to construction.
Okay, Caddo Parish, I-49, another big project.
Huge project. What did not start off on I-49 would have been a replacement of a Jimmy Davis Bridge. This project is an intercity connector. It's something that the local government and local leaders have worked toward for many years, and it's going to connect I-20 and I-49 to I-220 and I-49, and that's a stretch that we recently opened after about $600+ million from 220 north to the Arkansas state line, about 30+ miles. And so we're going to go straight through eventually. This is a significant project, but it's also a very expensive project. I think it's the most expensive of anything next to LA1 in this proposal.
There is another $150 million project, improvements on LA1, Golden Meadow to Leeville in Lafourche Parish.
So this is another mega project for the state. It's one that we began building. It's actually a toll project, and we built half of this project already starting back in 2008, if I'm not mistaken. It's a wonderful project. It leads to Port Fourchon, which provides the support services for the deep water and shallow water oil and gas industry.
There's also $40 million for the replacement and rehab of highway bridges. How far can that go?
You know, it won't go far enough. I've got about $250 million or more of small bridge repair on our system.
None of these at all have anything to do or include anything about a new bridge in the Metro Baton Rouge area. Is there any status on that?
There is some status on that we're happy to say. So Governor Edwards put in $5 million in our budget with surplus money to begin what's called advanced planning. This is really a part of what used to be the environmental process, the environmental document that has to be done. In the Trump administration, they've shortened the environmental process to 2 years, and by doing that, what they've taken is some of the early work, some of the busy work, if you will, has been taken out of the specific process.
Do you feel better about the state of our infrastructure and roads, bridges, et cetera, today than you did a year ago today?
What I will tell you is I feel good about what we're doing with what we have. It's not where we deserve to be, it's not where we want to be, and it's not where we're capable of being. The reality is we're doing the best we can with what we have. Given the limited budget, the costs are constantly going up, our infrastructure is constantly aging. We've actually got a bridge still operating that's 75 years old that has a 5-year life expectancy, I guess, if you will, or 50-year life expectancy on that bridge. We've done some really good work. I'm very proud of the department. I'm very proud of what the governor's done because we've been able to use Garvey bonds for the first time to do projects that have been on the books. The department has been able to get those projects out the door in record speed. We're building projects on the interstate that are going to make a difference. We're attempting to use public-private partnerships to be like other states that have done it. It's somewhat difficult because the community is saying maybe we don't want to pay any extra money, and I get that. So the reality is either we pay for what we want or we get what we're not paying for, which is a system that's not at its highest level of performance.
So if you want to take a look at the entire bill that led to the appropriation of this money, we have a link at legis.la.gov, House Bill 578. Baton Rouge Mayor Sharon Weston Broome says it's been her mission since taking office to improve the quality of life for the people she serves. A road improvement plan passed. She's also working on upgrades in city infrastructure, public safety, and education. LPB's Natasha Williams sat down with the mayor to discuss what she's done and what she plans to do.
Baton Rouge Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome says what may have led her to a career in politics possibly began before she was even old enough to vote.
I look back at when I was in high school or even before, I was always involved in student government, or I was leading a cause, or I was the one to try to bring students together around an issue.
But it was in 1988, while watching television, that she became frustrated about the lack of support her community was receiving.
I realized that during that time, I saw some citizens on TV when I ran for the Metro Council complaining about the lack of services and attention that they were getting. And it really connected with me because I believe that those of us who are in positions of authority, that we are called to a higher standard. And at the core of those in authority should be the concern for those individuals that they serve. And I believe that that's what triggered that call to public service in my life.
Years later, she would run for a seat in the House of Representatives and then become the first African American elected to the Louisiana State Senate. She says time seemed to fly by.
And before I knew it, I was in the legislature for 24 years, 12 years in the House and 12 years in the Senate. But it evolved.
Term limits would lead her down another political path. Broome was the first to announce her bid to become the mayor-president of East Baton Rouge Parish. She won in a runoff election in December of 2016. Sharon Weston Broome was sworn into office on January 2, 2017, and from the moment she took office, she had to immediately begin putting out fires, and not small ones, but those getting national attention.
In 2016, we had the officer-involved shooting. Then we had 3 police officers that were killed as a result of an ambush. And then we had the flood of 2016.
Legal issues surrounding the officer-involved shooting that left 37-year-old Alton Sterling, who was African-American, dead, were waged for several years. But days, even months after that 2016 shooting, many Baton Rouge residents were outraged, protesting and calling for change and for the firing of the 2 white officers involved.
I will tell you, as a leader, you can't be in denial of the challenges, and you have to carve out a path to deal with them, to address them, to find solutions. And so, when I first started in office, my first year in office in 2017, we had a few bumps in the road.
I will be strong and firm in making sure that every citizen is safe from harm.
And I will be the first to acknowledge that. But the true mark of a leader is, how do you go from a challenge to triumph, to success?
She says she faced all challenges head on.
A bad hire, bad decisions that some staff members perhaps made that were questionable. And then we had major issues in terms of the police department, working on those issues. And so we had a challenging 2017 year. But the good thing is that we worked through those challenges. We didn't stay there. We weren't stuck there. We acknowledged them. We moved on. In 2018, I believe we showed our ability to move beyond challenges to making sure that we were delivering what the citizens of the community desire. It's not uncommon when you first enter a new position to have challenges.
She says although she believes the city is going in a positive direction, there's still a lot of work to do, and her office is taking steps to help those still stuck and traumatized.
We've got a major grant from the federal government called Recast, which is specifically focused on communities that have gone through trauma.
And all of those incidents that took place in 2016 certainly still have an impact on us.
This program, recently put on by Recast, called The Many Faces of Trauma, brought together local and national experts, therapists, and victims for workshops and sessions to offer solutions to help those still suffering to get back on track.
Then you understand that anger is secondary emotion. You understand that anger comes from a place of sadness and fear.
And as the city continues to heal, Broome says her goals to make Baton Rouge better are full steam ahead.
I feel good about our most recent big initiative, which was the passage of our MOVE EBR program, which is almost $1 billion program that the citizens voted for a half-cent sales tax. It will definitely transform transportation, roadways, and infrastructure. To have the largest project of its kind take place in the history of Baton Rouge under our administration is certainly a notable accomplishment. More importantly, it's going to transform Baton Rouge for decades to come.
She says ultimately, when she decides to leave the mayor's office, she wants to leave the city much better than she found it.
I recently saw a quote that said something to the effect that a legacy is not what you leave for people, but what you leave in people. And I believe as mayor, I'm gonna have to do a little both, right? A little bit of both. So I certainly want to leave a community and a city and parish that has been one of positive transformation, where disinvested communities are no longer at a D grade, but have risen to at least a B grade. I want to make sure that people are united around shared goals and a shared vision, and that people will say that Mayor Broome brought us together as a city and as a community.
Broome tells us she will be running for re-election in 2020. She likes the foundation put in place under her watch, and she wants to see some programs and projects that she put in place, she wants to see them develop. Now an 18th century French Creole property and historic collection for sale, the Maison Chenal and Lacour house. For decades, it has been painstakingly put together by a family with the vision it could someday serve as an education and research center, museum, and one-of-a-kind attraction that it is. I don't think we've ever done a story showcasing a property for sale, but then there is no other place like this national treasure. The only other way you could see it is if you time traveled back to 18th century Louisiana. In Pointe-Coupee Parish, near the south end of False River, is a place that lives as it lived 200 and 300 years ago. It's where some of the early settlers of Louisiana put down roots. These were people that largely came from France, but also other European countries, and Africa and the West Indies. And keep in mind, they are descending upon lands that are already home to Native Americans, the Indian tribes of Louisiana. With all these different cultures and backgrounds coming together, the result was the creation of something unique, which is a word very often used to describe our state.
We need, as human beings, we need physical reminders that we're part of a continuum.
Pat Holden and her husband Jack, a doctor, have spent the past 50 years carefully crafting the past to create this living snapshot of colonial Louisiana. They first bought one house, then later another, both built in the 18th century, and moved them to the land they owned. They added other period structures that would have been companions to the houses, and the furnishings and everything else you see here are things those people from that era lived with. That's what's known as the Holden Collection, about 1,400 items made or used in Louisiana in the early 18th century to about 1830. Everything here is authentic.
All those people who came before us, they made a difference as to who we are now and what we do. And therefore, what we do now makes a difference for all those who come after.
The difference the Holdens have made may not be common knowledge throughout the state, but in other circles it is celebrated and treasured. Here's part of a letter after a visit from New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art. We relished every minute of the experience, came away with profound respect for your efforts to preserve. And from the Smithsonian Institute, the obvious love and great care that you have put into the meticulous restoration of your home is inspiring. The Holdens have always been a team, and that has been a key to their success.
We complemented each other's personality. She was a born researcher. Everything that you see has been researched, whether it's the fishbowl or the 5 cups and saucers or the rings on the curtains. I assembled the collection. She did the architecture.
Is this something that you saw yourself doing as you came up in the world?
We wanted to do something of some significance, and when we wanted to involve the children, we thought that they needed to see that if their parents had a purpose that they could do something together, that it would inspire them to find something, find a passion, find a love that you could work with. It can teach you that every place, and I think place is significant anywhere, there's a message in a place of a people. People came and interacted with a place, and it produced certain images or certain lifestyles.
Take this collection of blankets. Acadian women, mothers, made these for their families. Pat says because each has its own look, they become a collection of physical expression of a culture. The Holdens like to call what's for sale here the Tout Ensemble, which means the whole deal. You've got 75 acres of land, plus 2 historic houses, and the smaller buildings associated with the houses, plus you've got the Holden Collection. The appraised real estate value is just over $2.4 million. The Holden Collection has been appraised at just under $3 million. The Lacour house was built at least 40 years before Maison Chenal. It sits right across the road. And how's this for trivia? It also happens to be the house where the late Lindy Boggs, the first woman elected to Congress from Louisiana, was born and lived. It is a place of special memories for the Holden's daughter, Chenal.
This house became the house of gathering because our families were getting larger, and we would have big Christmases out here, Thanksgivings, and we had the space, of course.
Peter Patou is the listing agent for this 18th century Louisiana French Creole property and historic collection.
This is a world-class property. On the 75 acres are 2 major Creole houses, dependencies, also the collection.
The appraised value for the land, property, and collection is $5.4 million, but it's all being offered for $3.85 million. Philippe Halbert is an expert in French colonial history.
For me, it's the chance to kind of physically experience the place and the history and the objects in a setting that, for me, is very evocative and very compelling. It's like stepping back in time in a landscape that really evokes what that kind of unsettled frontier really was in the 1700s. Is an experience I haven't really had anywhere else until I came here.
Now, Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser plans to take a look and discuss the vision to sell this and keep it fully intact for generations to come. If you want to check out the listing link, we have it right here, peterpatou.com, Maison, Chenal. And everyone, that's our show for this week. Remember, you can watch us and anything LPB anytime, wherever you are, with our brand new app. It's a free download from your app store. This upgraded version features news and public affairs, documentaries, how-tos, and many more programs. And please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For all of us at Louisiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Andre Moreau. Thank you for watching. Until next time, that's the state we're in.
Support comes from
Entergy provides much more than power. We support science and engineering at local schools to build a brighter path to better jobs and help prepare the next generation. Because together, we power life. Entergy.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.